One of the best things about PC and Android gaming is definitely modding. No matter what game, new or old, you can always find mods to enhance the experience, or add replayability to your favourite games. And for today's video I'm going to be listing 10 of the best mods for Buddy Scholarship Edition and Anniversary Edition. Now some mods I list will be for both PC and Android, and others may be PC only, but I'll list it on screen anyway. Of course I'll try to explain any known issues with some of these mods, so with that out of the way, let's get straight onto the list. Despite what the name might imply, this isn't a horror mod. Anyway, Buddy's Nightmare is a fantastic bonus mission mod made by Deadpool XYZ, which revolves around the Buddies and their plots to prank Mr. Hattrick. However, the night goes horribly wrong for them. Now I won't spoil the mission, but I'm adding this to the list because unlike most other mission mods made, this one has a fully fledged storyline with a plot that's very suitable to Buddy's theme, so it doesn't feel out of place. Also, you don't play as Jimmy at all, instead you swap between 3 Buddies, Ethan, Troy and Tom. Not like GTA 5, but you know, each segment is different. Now the mission length is really long too, lasting around 25 minutes from start to finish, and the plot to the mission is really coherent as well. Aside from not having any actual spoken lines of dialogue instead of relying on subtitles, this actually does feel like a taste to what a DLC to Buddy could have been. Like the mission theme and difficulty is that well handled, unlike other mission mods which may take a step away into something more wacky or serious or make it more difficult than that. Of course the only negatives to this mod are, well, it's just a single mission, so it's something you'll probably only really play once. And of course getting knocked out at any point in the mission means you will have to start again from the beginning, but for the length and how well it's made, it's definitely one I recommend. Now much like the Grand Theft Auto series, Buddy handles its interiors rather poorly, as a large majority of the game's interiors for places like classrooms or even some places in town are just not accessible outside of specific circumstances. Like pretty much every classroom which are only there for like classes or cutscenes, you know, you can't free roam in them. However, the Open All Interiors mod by Unknown Soldier 1138 basically allows most of these interiors to be open at all times. However, the only downside to this is you do need to have a brand new save for this mod, and it doesn't work with older saves, so you will need to start a brand new one up. So once installed, and in a new game obviously, you'll notice all the doors around the academy can now be entered. However, with that being said, there are some issues. Because of Buddy being a rushed game, a few interiors are bugged and incorrect. Like the art classroom you cannot get out of, and entering a store that isn't a proper interior will softlock your game. Some unused rooms will make Jimmy keep the door open but nothing else, but thankfully most of these interiors work really well, and admittedly some do feel really complete, like the classroom or the auditorium despite having no collision. Now sadly no pedestrians actually spawn in these interiors, but that might be fixed by another mod. That doesn't exist yet. But this mod, at least to me, makes the academy feel a lot more lively and a lot more realistic, since it opens up a fair bit that Rockstar kept locked away for seemingly no reason at all. Thankfully, installation for this mod is really simple. You just go to your Buddy folder, enter the objects folder, and I always recommend making a backup of these 2 files, you know, the trigger image. Just rename them to something like trigger 2, and just drag and drop the files, start Buddy up and start a brand new game. And now we can admire more of the effort Rockstar Games put into Bullworth that for some reason we can never see normally. First rule, don't talk about it. Secondly, I've probably broken that rule. Anyway, Fight Club Bite the Boss brings an optional survival style game mode to Buddy where you take on as many students as you possibly can. But that's not all. As the mod begins, you can choose your difficulty, and rather than just exploiting beam cola that usually drops from knocking people out, you can only refill your health every few rounds, alongside buying weapons that is. So you can't just like knock somebody out, pick up a spud gun and just go mental on people. This mod does bring a massive challenge to the game, and it can really throw you off guard when Algernon spawns but then quickly whips out a spud gun and goes psycho on your ass. And this mod definitely does bring out a lot of replayability to the game, even if it's for like 10 minutes or an hour. It's really enjoyable, and quite easy to install. Now when Buddy was ported from the PlayStation 2 to the Xbox 360 and PC, Rockstar did upscale and make many of the textures more defined. However, one aspect they did not upscale for the next gen was the HUD, which remained the exact same as it did on the PlayStation 2, just with some button changes and that. Now as time's gone on, we're all running high resolution displays, and unfortunately the HUD for Buddy hasn't exactly aged that well. Like on 1080p monitors the HUD can look a little blurred at times. Well, not blurred, you know what I mean. Anyway, thankfully when Rockstar re-released Buddy a third time on mobile, they actually did upscale and remade the HUD, with much more updated icons this time around for everything, such as missions, the radar, and pretty much everything was remade in higher quality. Now user Aura Shadow has actually gone to the effort to port the remastered HUD to the PC version, and when I say this, I do mean everything. The buttons, the weapon wheel, the radar, everything. I think on high resolution displays this HUD does look rather fantastic, and as its official recreation by Rockstar themselves, the icons obviously, the HUD actually fits in perfectly with Buddy's theme. Now Aura Shadow has even gone to the effort to port some of Anniversary Edition's characters to PC, so if you're looking for a bit more high quality characters, this mod is looking to be it. But don't worry, if you hate the shiny bright colours and mobile, this mod does not affect the game's main look. One of the few things many Bully fans do agree on is how Rockstar really let many story characters go to waste, as Ernest, Ted, Darby, Johnny, Edgar, Pete, Crabblesnitch and Gary never appear in free mode, not even after you've beaten the main story, and many fans were disappointed when finding out after beating the main story only Zoe is seen and can be interacted with, but everybody else is gone and is never seen again. Of course this made sense during the story, as Jimmy could just batter Gary as soon as chapter 2 starts with no need for final showdown, but you know. Anyway, this mod, which is made by various people, as it is a fairly mod to do yourself, enables the various click leaders alongside even some beta characters like Bob, Nate and Floyd to spawn around the map at all times. So if you visit the auto shop you'll see Johnny, and if you visit the library you'll see Ernest and that, but depending on which version you download, they may even have their boss styles, which does make them stand out more than just, reusing their click standard fighting style. Now some versions of this mod do exist which spawn every character in every appearance, so you might see Fad and Christy walking around in their pyjamas, or Norton in his gym attire, or Eunice in a Nutcracking Fairy outfit. But personally for me, I just prefer the normal version which just spawns the unused characters rather than every single costume. Made by the Great Grantini, Toggleable Mayhem can enable or disable the Great Dwarf Academy riots that were seen in Complete Mayhem. There's not much to really talk about here, but I like this and I think it's a great addition to the game since I really like the atmosphere that Complete Mayhem brought. It may also be a good mod to waste some time with, watching fights and that. And this mod also disables your triple meter and replaces the background music with that of the mission's theme. Also everybody joins in on the brawl, even girls and little kids. To enable, hit left, to disable, hit right. I'm not sure if this works on Android however, or how to enable it on Android without using like a Bluetooth or third party controller. So yeah, try this one at your own risk if you're on Android. Now some people believe that Bully's textures haven't aged that well, which is given pretty much that Bully was originally a PlayStation 2 game ported to the PC, and was nearly 12 years ago. And if you're a believer of that, then maybe this HD Texture Overhaul mod is for you. Created by Will, this mod replaces a large majority of the textures around Bullworth with ones that are much more defined, and they even change with the season too. Now this only affects the environment and not the characters however, but there's a lot of differences as you can see for yourself around the map. Will has worked really hard to change a few interiors too, such as the boys' dorm and the main school. I do believe he's working on other interiors as well, but understandably that will take a lot of time. He also does post regular updates on his channel. Now unlike other HD overhauls, this one is surprisingly low end PC friendly, with no performance loss, so even if you're on an old Intel HD graphics laptop, this mod could still be used. And if you're on a high or even medium end rig like me, you can couple this with Reshade to get even more graphical upgrades. Now the one thing I personally do not like about the mod is how in the boys' dorm, the Bulworth Academy logo on the carpet has been replaced with the Chicago Bulls logo, the basketball team. Which, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, you might like, but, I like to try and keep it lore friendly if possible, so yeah. But aside from that though, textures are brilliantly handled. And of course with this mod bringing HD textures over, the download is going to be quite big. Well, big for a game from the mid to late 2000s. So I believe as I'm making this, the latest version is about 2 gigs to download, so if you're on slower internet you might want to avoid this mod. Supermod, made by The Boss, has definitely got to be one of the best mods ever made for Bully. It acts like an in-game trainer and basically gives you the ultimate control of how you play Bully. Supermod comes with a very large amount of choices and will definitely give you a good few hours of fun alone. With Supermod, you can change your character to anybody. You can play as Zoe, Algernon, Sheldon, or even Dog. You can change animations to pretty much any fighting style in the game, even boss styles. So if you like Russell's fighting style in Russell in the Hole, you can give Jimmy that, or you can give it to Algernon or whatever. Weapon spawning, you can give Jimmy any or every single weapon in the entire game, including a good few amount of unused and beta weapons, such as Johnny Vincent's pipe, which is usually unattainable, and of course the Super Spud gun. Supermod 4 also lets you spawn in vehicles, and this isn't just limited to bikes either. You can even spawn and drive in cars you see around town, or you can go full G-Town line in Saints Row and spawn in a hovercraft from the arcade minigames and end up driving around town at hyper speed shooting everybody up. You can also change the season, so if you want it to snow again, you can, alongside enabling or disabling rain or snow. Now sadly Bully doesn't have GTA style of weather, so you can't exactly have a thunderstorm and then like a hurricane or whatever. You're pretty much limited in that regard. That's not a fault with the Supermod. And probably one of the best features from Supermod, it allows you to replay most story missions in the game. Now if you play GTA Ballad of Gay Tony, GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 1 or even Red Dead Redemption 2, you'll know how great mission replayability is. We can also change the music, teleport to most areas in the game, change or freeze the time, and completely screw with heads by spawning up to 10 of them, anywhere, anytime, recruiting them, giving them weapons, and you know, as said, you do have complete control over all of this. Now, Supermod was never actually released for Android, but a very similar mod exists, named either Debug Menu or Clio Script Mod. It's the same mod, just with two different names for some reason. Anyway, much like the Supermod, it lets you access all weapons, unlimited ammo, change weather and teleport, etc. It's definitely the closest mod available to Supermod on Android. It also has some features which are not available on the PC version, such as automatic healing and starting classes and that. The Supermod is definitely a fantastic mod to get some replayability from Bully. However, with that being said, we do have some issues. Like for example, in fighting Johnny Vincent, the game will always softlock as Jimmy runs away from the police. And at least on PC, if replaying an end of chapter boss fight in chapter 6, your game will crash after the fight, with an endless loading screen. Also, some of the fighting styles you give Jimmy can be bugged and will either have no attacks or will just control themselves. For example, giving Jimmy a wrestling moveset will stop him from attacking, while Johnny Vincent's boss style will just keep on automatically doing the same move over and over again. But aside from those issues, this is a must-have mod. Now, VoidscreenFixer does exactly what it says on the tin. It fixes Bully so it doesn't look as squashed on widescreen or even ultra-wide monitors, as for some reason, not using this fix does make Bully look rather, well, squished, which is more noticeable on say 21:9 displays rather than 16:9. Now, it's worth mentioning that 13AG has done a lot of these kind of fixes for older PC games, including the other GTAs, you know, like San Andreas, Vice City and that, Mass Effect, and the Tony Hawk games. So if you play any of those games, it might be worth downloading these so your games can actually support widescreen properly. Now, this isn't all VoidscreenFixer has to offer, as it does come built in with an FOV adjuster, but do not set this too high, otherwise your game will be really screwed and may even play upside down. Personally for me, I like to keep my FOV at 1.3 because, you know, that's just my preference. However, if you're still one of the few people who play on a box monitor, you know, say like 1024x768, this mod might not be of any use to you at all, unless you want to just increase the FOV. But thankfully, installation for this is really simple. Just drag and drop the plugins folder and de-input 8DLL into your Bully folder, then just open the plugins folder and open Bully VoidscreenFixer.ini and change this to like 1.3 or something, then you're done. Now, this mod is an absolute must-have mod if you play Bully on PC. If you're unaware, Bully on PC has quite a few bad issues, such as crashing, especially on Windows 10, where for some reason the game just crashes a lot, no matter your setup, high-end, low-end, modded or not. Silent Patch, by Silent, thankfully prevents this from happening. Well, that is unless you're screwing around with glitches or mods that break the game in any way. Now hold on, before you think this is just a Windows 10 thing, I'm on Windows 7, I don't need this. Silent Patch also comes with a built-in FPS cap remover and does make the game more stable because Bully is locked to 30 FPS. So if you're on a high-end machine, you'll probably want those precious frames, and Silent Patch allows you to set your own FPS limit. 60, 144 or completely unlimited is entirely up to you. However, with that being said, uncapping the FPS to something exceeding your monitor's refresh rate will make the game extremely fast and unplayable. To combat this, it's really recommended you cap your FPS to your monitor's refresh rate. Like if you have a 60Hz monitor, then cap your FPS to 60, not 70 or 100, etc. Of course, there are only two known issues with this, and that is if you uncap the FPS in balls of snow, you may bug out and will be in a soft lock until the mission ends. And in finding Johnny Vincent, you may have trouble opening the gate at the end. And a workaround for this is to quickly swap back to the keyboard controls, open the gate that way and then swap back to controller. Or of course, for these missions you might want to temporarily revert back to 30 FPS. As for installation, all you have to do is just simply drag and drop these into the main Bully folder, and you don't need to replace any files. However, this doesn't uncap the FPS, so open up the Silent Patch INI file, change the FPS limit to 60 or whatever your monitor's refresh rate is, enable VSync in the settings, and you're good to go. So those are the 10 best mods I could list for Bully Scholarship Edition and Anniversary Edition. Of course, I apologise that this list isn't for both PC and Android. You know, I tried to find mods that suited both PC and mobile. But of course, with that being said, there are some mods that definitely are for PC. Like I said, Silent Patch completely fixes the game. And thankfully, there aren't that many issues with Bully Anniversary Edition. That's why VoidscreenFixer sort of comes, I wouldn't say built in with Anniversary Edition, but, you know, it is sort of remade with widescreen in mind, as opposed to, like, you know, PC where widescreen isn't handled that well. Anyway, I hope you understand what I mean. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and massive thanks to all the people who made these fantastic mods. Hopefully we get to see more of these mods soon, because honestly, it's one of the best things about gaming in my opinion, when you can actually just like extend a game's lifespan by having this kind of added fan-made content. So yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.